Welcome. I'll be reviewing Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 13, and Picard Season 2, Episode 3. Keep in mind that these are just my notes that I jotted down as I watched, so I decided to leave in some of the mini moments that I had. To start out with, Tilly is back. Yes! With her cadets. Love it. Where is our Tilly show? I'm still waiting. She had such a wonderful speech about how the Federation can bring hope. And that is all the more necessary when people are frightened and desperate. Full Earth and Navarre evac. Wow. And then not really being able to save many people, even with all those starships. Also, not to be repetitive in every review, but Jet is just the best. That line where she's like, I wish we had some hot and sour soup. I mean, it wouldn't help, but I'm hungry. It's just so relatable. I love her. If I had to pick my top 3 Star Trek characters to get stranded with, she would be on the top of the list. It would be like Jet Reno. Who would the other 2 be? Kira Nerys for number 2 slot, and number 3, I'm gonna go with Data. Yeah, Jet, Kira, and Data, and myself crashed on an alien planet. Who would your 3 be? Also, Grudge being so grumpy and requiring a cat door being the means by which they get out, it was just so clever. Made me like Grudge even more. The General just coming out and admitting what she had done, I did not see coming. And I kind of respect it. She knew the consequences of her decision and was willing to own up to it. Like, she stepped up. And her regret seemed genuine. I really like that they made her character that nuanced. Tarina attempting telepathic communication between a Vulcan and a primarily emotion-based species seemed super dangerous, and I was completely with Saru on that one. And then apparently they weren't even aware of individual existence. I would be confused too. And like, what do you mean they're separate? I don't understand. And then Saru started talking about the limits that we place on ourselves and how they don't protect us. They dull our brightness. Wow. Saru. I love how deep and mature his relationship with Tarina is. They didn't go for just yet another classic on-screen romance. You have 2 extremely wise adults connecting. And then Michael just taking a moment, then immediately moving forward with the plan to get out of the orb, even though it potentially stranded them, was so in character. She is instantly willing to do anything to protect the people that she loves. And I think that every single person on that crew would have chosen the same, given what's at stake. Watching the spore drive explode, though, was so intense because that has been an integral part of this show from almost the beginning. To have that happen, it was kind of heart-wrenching, actually. It was like watching the Enterprise explode because, you know, they obviously use that plot line fairly often, but it's always like, oh, hits you right there. And that's what happened here. The minute Book stayed behind and was like, tell Michael I love her, oh, I started freaking out. I was like, are we gonna lose Book? No. I actually had to pause it and be like, no, I'm not ready to give up Book because I love his character. I can't say goodbye. No. And then when they were like, we need a suicide mission pilot, I started just screaming at the screen. I was angry by this point. I was like, we are about to lose Book and her? No. No, no, no. I would never forgive Discovery if they did that to us. It made sense in the end when the General volunteered. Whew. This was the moment when I realized I actually really do care about the Discovery crew, even though they don't get as much backstory as I would like. Because when they started being like, yes, I'll go, I'm like, no, you better sit back down. I like you. And then moving back to Earth, having to give the order to just leave and abandon all those people and the evacuation and just be like, get your ship out of here. As a captain, can you imagine? just leaving all those people, assuming Earth is about to explode. And then Tilly, I'm pretty sure she stayed just so that he wouldn't be alone. I mean, she had that excuse about, oh, you'll need help, but I'm pretty sure she stayed because no one deserves to die alone, even if they're being noble. And I love her for it. Then we got a really vulnerable moment from Tarka when Book told him, some days I don't even know how to wake up, but we cannot let the pain do this to us. And even though Book got through to him in the end, it was too late. But I'm glad that at least he realized what he had done and took responsibility for it, and then tried to get Book out. R.I.P. to one of the most beautiful ships on Star Trek and an outstanding villain. And then I have a note of just sobbing and being like, after everything that he went through this season, after everything Michael has gone through, killing him off like that would have been so wrong. It was such a neat set design for the alien planet though. Epic reveal, well worth the build-up. And then in the end, telling Book's story is what really convinced them. So even if we had lost him, his mission succeeded. And then when Michael started going on about, he was my one. See, just thinking about her performance is making me tear up. Good thing this was not a reaction, because my scream of joy when Book showed up would probably have blown out your eardrums. I was so happy. And then it turns out the 10C was just scared, hiding in their hyperfield all this time. And Book was able to remind them that we are all connected. I've known that if he could just talk to the 10C, it would make a difference. And it did. The DMA is shut down for good, partly because Book, as an empath, was finally able to actually talk to them in a way that they understood. This whole time, if he had just joined the diplomatic team, none of this mess would have happened. Okay, when they brought back the old Star Trek theme and said those 3 words, cancel, red alert, it kind of got me in the feels a little bit. Good storyline. A little bit drawn out, but I liked it. And then the wormhole opened up. They ended up getting home after all. I pretty much just had chills throughout the rest of the episode. And then Stacey Abrams showing up as the president of Earth. Icing on the cake. Apparently she's a big fan, so it's cool that she got that cameo. And of course Earth is back in the Federation, officially. There were so many adorable scenes at the end between crew members. And of course my favorite ship, and no, I'm not talking about those objects in space. Saru and Tarina gardening together. My heart can't take this. Stop at Discovery. This was just a fantastic episode. I think it might be my favorite Discovery episode so far of all of them. Except maybe the Mirror Universe. I did enjoy those. Empress Giorgio. So overall, I think this was a fairly strong season. Looking forward to the next one. And on to Picard. Seven made pretty quick work of Team Evil, as I suspected she would. I was, however, really worried about Eleanor because that wound looked terrible. And the way Rafi just fell apart when he was shot, I'm kind of glad that her character is still a bit of a hot mess. And she didn't magically get it all together this season. I think she's one of the more realistic characters on Star Trek. And then there was great teamwork in the opening. They're a really eclectic group, but pretty effective now. This look from Picard was like, what have I done? But also, we had no choice when the ship got assimilated. I saw it coming, but it was still fun to watch everyone react to it. Poor Agnes especially, she was right next to the Queen, and she was like, the past is now. Oh, that was a great line. They really captured the feel of classic slingshot travel. I mean, it kind of felt like Star Trek 4, you know, the Whales movie. And it was a bold move heading for a future so close to our own time, because it could easily just be totally wrong. I mean, what if something happens in the next couple of years? I wonder why they didn't do something like go to 2019. I mean, we really know what things look like there. It'd be awkward if 2024 came along and, I don't know, something happened that visually just totally ruined this episode. Okay, at this point, I was completely losing it about Elnor because that was a lot of blood loss. And the queen was basically killing him to save herself. Typical Borg. But it was a really beautiful scene where Elnor was basically trying to make Rafi feel better as he was dying. He was worried about her. Oh, he's so adorable. And then that phrase, now is the only moment. I can't believe he's gone in episode 3. All I can say is Q, you had better bring him back. I totally get why Rafi was so angry with Picard. I mean, obviously he didn't have a choice with the games Q was always playing, but he did in a way kind of allow it, unlike Cisco, which caused an oddly twisted relationship. And this time, things are getting real. We're not running around Sherwood Forest. And then everyone running off, covered in futuristic tech, and Agnes like, stop, no, take that off. You're like the kid that needs strings around his mittens. Oh, Agnes, never change. The minute Picard pointed out that another Borg could hear the Queen's thoughts, like he could his Locutus, I was like, oh no, someone is going to inject themselves with nanoprobes. Fortunately, they didn't have to exactly. And then Chris, oh, he was hilarious because when they were trying to find normal looking clothes to wear to go outside, he was holding up 2 almost identical black jackets like, which one should I wear? And I'm like, Chris, they're the same jacket. Will Seven be able to keep her lack of implants in the future? I mean, if they fix the timeline and then go back, will the implants reappear? Will she stay human? The problem is if they don't, then Elnor is gone permanently. But if Elnor comes back, then they reset the timeline, which would also give her her implants back. What do you think? Full reset? Or will Seven be able to stay like this? Basically human again? Fortunately, it looks like Agnes was just going for a partial connection rather than full assimilation, but still, yikes, I would not sign up for that. And then hearing her talk subconsciously was probably the scariest part of the whole episode. What if I never come out? The way she was talking in the sorrow room. And in the end, how her depression basically was what gave the Queen power. When we're stuck in that room, you're basically unable to fight back or do anything or even want to get up in the morning. And that whole scene was terrifying, not because of the Borg aspect, but because of the very realistic way they were talking about depression. They had an interesting music choice for LA. It was fun, but honestly a bit jarring. And did that guy pick the wrong person to mug? Rafi's disgusted. Oh right, money. Wow. Right before taking him down, and then taking his wallet as an apocalypse fund. I loved her rant about the 2020s too. I'm right there with you, Rafi. And then it was really cute how Seven just accepted the fact that the little girl thought she was a superhero. It was just like, don't tell anyone. I mean, Seven basically is a superhero. Poor Chris though, what a way to land. So much for avoiding hospitals. And Agnes was right about the mittens. He pretty much lost his future tech immediately. Seven pretending to be breaking into a building to take a selfie with her girlfriend is just peak 2020s. Nailed it. What would Seven's Instagram account be like though? Can you imagine? Agnes strikes me more as a TikTok vibe. Rafi is definitely that person who keeps dramatically leaving Facebook groups. And Picard is that friend who still writes letters on paper. Teresa has a wonderful bedside manner. She put Chris and myself instantly at ease. And she understood how worried he was about getting reported, fortunately. I love how the kid who swiped his comm badge was just being such a kid about it, and Chris was like, "You little Vulcan," affectionately insulting him. Of course, who knows where the badge will be now, with immigration involved. And Agnes actually managed to impress a Borg queen. Well, welcome to the club, because Agnes has impressed most of us watching for a while. And she got the location of the Watcher. Of course, now we have an additional mission to get Chris out of trouble. That's gonna get messy. This really is reminding me of Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. I'm loving the pacing so far. It's really just boom, boom, boom. Such an incredible series. I think it might be my favorite since Voyager of all the new Treks. I'm so excited for the rest of this season. Live long and prosper.